dismissing. I'm dismissing. I am dismissing this charge.
Joke about his injuries as it will wipe him blood off their uniforms with disinfectant.
Dirty cops are everywhere these days, but they sometimes face the severe consequences of their corrupt actions. In this video, we will look at cases where dirty cops react to unexpected prison sentences, starting with the first one where a judge puts his foot down after an officer is caught driving under the influence. In 2014, Lisette Gonzalez was charged with driving under the influence after being observed drinking beer while driving. Officer Michael Wagner testified that he witnessed Gonzalez consuming alcohol and subsequently arrested her. After the verdict was reached, Gonzalez's attorney made a final plea.
Your Honor, not enough evidence presented for the jury to find the verdict that they did. They didn't do all the field sobriety examinations that should have been done. I respectfully ask that this court grant the judgment notwithstanding the verdict.
According to the attorney, Gonzalez was not given a breathalyzer, and neither had her blood drawn for testing. Based on this, he asked the judge to overturn the verdict.
This isn't a purely circumstantial case. And so I'm going to deny the motion for JOA. Now, we have this other case for driving while license suspended.
Next, the judge brought up the issue that Gonzalez was driving with a suspended license. But that only happened because the arresting office, Wagner, Ayers, submitted a false report. When Wagner's attorney tries defending him, though, the judge loses his cool.
I want to be enlightened.
It was a mistake, admittedly, by Michael Wagner.
I know.
Testified to that today.
He caused her to have her driver's license suspended for at least a few months for nothing. So are you going to null process that case? Or am I going to get mad at you today?
Perhaps you can get mad at me, Your Honor, but at this point...
Why wouldn't you? Wait a minute. Did you hear the uncontroverted testimony of this officer?
Your Honor.
Then I want you taking him up on perjury.
Your Honor.
Will you take him up for perjury?
He admitted it was a mistake, Your Honor.
No, but he lied. He lied on a sworn
Absolutely
citation.
not, Your Honor, and that is not true.
I'm dismissing. I am dismissing this charge. No, I'm dismissing the charge.
The attorney was trying to be assertive with a judge. They don't even have the decency anymore to be respectful, but the judge handled this spoiled woman pretty well.
This whole case was fishy, and I have no idea how they... You know what?
Their address on file.
You know what?
The state intends to amend
I'm granting.
and proceed on
I'm rescinding the sentence. I'm granting the JOA.
I agree with the state's decision on
I'm
the
granting
other
the
charge.
JOA in fairness.
In fairness, because you don't like the state's decision today, Your Honor, on the case?
No, you're not. Now that I consider what Officer Wagner testified to and how many times he basically tripped over himself just to arrest this lady with no real probable cause. You're done. Motion, the JOA is granted.
And you're not going to provide a written order on that?
Nope. You want to appeal me? Appeal me.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The case should have never been done. Never.
Thank you for letting us know that, Your Honor.
It's mind-blowing that some of these attorneys will go to any length to protect the evilest of people. Thanks to the judge's sensibility, Gonzalez walked out of that room free of all charges. If you think this cop had it bad, then wait till you see this next case where an evil cop got a sentence that rendered his life essentially over.
We have surgically removed the cancerous officers from the Edison Police Department.
The officer in question was Edison Police Officer Michael Dotro, who was responsible for mastering various plots to harm other officers and firebomb the house of one of his supervisors. Yes, you heard that right. This guy actually did that. Then, on September 7th, 2017, Middlesex County Court in New Brunswick.
Everyone to understand where I'm coming from with regards to this, especially if there's going to be any appellate review of this sentence. I want those judges to know the sentence to be imposed in this particular case is because Mr. Dotro, through his conduct and his admissions, spanning from 1998 to this year, represents the worst that we can possibly expect from someone in our society. Yes, he's caused very specific damage to Captain Enderko and his family, to Ms. Zog, to Ms. Dotro, to his own parents, to his families, to his brothers, after he's walking out the door to spend the next third of his life in prison, is allowed people a basis to say that our system of justice has no integrity. How could it when we've allowed this particular individual like him here in Middlesex County here in Edison to do the things that he's done. Similar to what we see on the news every day from other parts of the country.
The judge was a perfect example of how criminals like that officer should be treated like they are a disease that should be eradicated from this planet and despised as much as possible.
Because of him and people like him, victims are afraid to come forward to be part of the criminal justice system and get the relief that they're entitled to from being victimized, because they have no faith in it, because they don't know who to trust. Even more importantly, we have other individuals every day who put on a badge which represents honor, service, and integrity. Without question, go out there every day, leave their family behind to protect an entire community with hopes that they can make it through the day, through the end of their shift, so that they can go back home to their family and lead a normal human being life, because the life of a police officer is not a normal human being life.
It's really sad to say this, but that badge no longer means service and integrity. It has become just another means for bullies like Dotro to fulfill their egoic desires. After this, a prosecutor, along with 2 chiefs, announced the final sentencing for Michael Dotro.
In May of 2013, I stood right here and we announced the charges against Michael Dotro, very serious charges, and at that point I was a prosecutor to what he said of the job. Since that time, I have worked with Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office, Chief Bryant specifically, the Edison Police Department, many of its officers, and what we have done is we have analyzed what exactly was going on in Edison Police Department, and we have surgically removed the cancerous officers from the Edison Police Department. The Edison Police Department is a much different place than it was 4 years ago. Michael Dotro has now been sentenced, convicted of some very serious crimes that legitimate police officers find absolutely repugnant. We've gone back and we've looked at other officers at the Edison Police Department, and frankly, we've worked hard to clean shot. 4 other officers were removed for malfeasance that were directly tied to the Dotro investigation. And in addition, 3 others were removed for other acts that were inappropriate as well.
This is why it's essential to raise awareness about the disgusting actions of officers who abuse their power, because eventually our voice reaches the top.
There's a new tone, there's a new day in Edison Police Department. All of the police officers who've gone the Edison Police Department uniform are proudly serving its citizens and everybody who comes through Edison. They're doing a fine job and they're serving with integrity. And that's what the County of Middlesex should know today. The Edison Police Department is a much better and different place than it was 4 years ago. And we're happy with the judge's rendering of the sentence today. Thank you.
Michael Dotro was an Edison cop for 10 years before his arrest and conviction. He was sentenced to 20 years in prison following his guilty plea. This cop got served pretty well, just like this next one who couldn't even admit he was guilty.
I've already ruled. I've already ruled at this point in time. We're done at this point in time.
During a hearing in Breckinridge County, Kentucky, Todd Pate, the former sheriff of Breckinridge County, appeared in front of the judge after he was charged with operating under the influence for the second time. As the hearing proceeds, Todd does something pretty strange.
This time is it your desire to change your plea from not guilty to guilty?
Do I have to answer that yes or no, or can I make somewhat of a statement? That
is a yes or no answer, sir.
Will I have the opportunity to say anything further?
If it is your intention to change your plea from not guilty to guilty, certainly you'll have an opportunity to make any statement. But if it is not your intent to enter a guilty plea at this time, then I'm going to set your case for jury trial, and you're going to stop wasting my time and everybody else's time this afternoon.
Ma'am, I'm not trying to waste your time.
Then is it your intention to enter a guilty plea at this time or not, sir?
No.
Todd had the option to plead guilty and reduce his sentence from 15 years to 75 days, and he still struggled with it. If that isn't stupidity, I don't know what is.
Why am I wasting your time,
Mr. Chambers, what is the Commonwealth's position at this time, sir?
Your Honor, we would move to revoke the defendant's bond at this time.
I believe I'll just let him answer that question if it pleases the court.
All right. So, Mr. Pate?
Can I say a few things, or?
I need to understand what it is that we're
I would
doing
just
here
like for
today,
the
Mr.
court-
Pate.
Yes, I had every intention of coming in here today and entering a guilty plea. It's difficult for me to enter a guilty plea for a lot of reasons, and I don't want this court to think that I am trying to minimize any responsibility that I had in this situation that occurred.
The former sheriff was doing all that drama so that he could prove himself right. In other words, being right was more important for him than spending less time in jail.
I feel like I'm being very much into doing something that's not right, and I want this court to know that Todd Pate holds himself responsible for everything that he did. It's hard for me to lay down and plead to felony charges that don't apply.
Is it your intention today to enter this guilty plea?
And if I could address...
This is either a yes or no. Are you going to enter your plea or not?
I guess everybody thinks it's funny. Let me just plea and get it over with for everybody. Plead to something that I absolutely do not feel good about, but I don't want you to try to send me to the penitentiary for years and years. If you can sleep with it, I can sleep with it.
I think we're
Unusual,
done.
but
At
let's
this
do
point in
it.
time, I think we're done. Where I think we are today is that on the one hand, the Commonwealth can enforce the terms of this agreement based on the execution. Mr. Pate, I'm talking at this point in time.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
At this point in time, I'm going to sustain the Commonwealth's motion to revoke his bond. He will be taken into the custody and housed in the Breckinridge County Jail.
Your Honor, if I may speak to Mr. Chambers' motion to revoke the bond.
I've already ruled. I've already ruled at this point in time.
Ma'am.
We're done at this point in time. He's going into jail today.
Pate eventually pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 75 days in jail, with credit for time served. What's baffling about this is that he really had to push himself to plead guilty. Any normal person would have done it in an instant. This officer could have hurt many people because of what he did, but this next officer did not leave that up to chance.
There's an old saying, it ain't no fun when a rabbit's got the gun. It's equally applicable when he has the video. The eye of justice.
On January 28, 2015, an ex-cop, William Melendez, and his partner stopped Floyd Dent for a minor offense. But this stop turned into something completely different. As William appeared in court, the judge went through the situation again, the details of which will leave you shocked.
January 28, 2015, where his life changed forever. He was stopped by the defendant, a then Inkster police officer, and his partner, Officer Zelenowski. Mr. Dent was stopped for a minor traffic offense and ordered out of his vehicle. With his hands extended out of his driver's window, he was grabbed out, thrown to the ground, and 16 times in the head by the defendant. In his attempt to arrest him, he was thrown onto a window shield of a patrol car. The responding police officers arrived as the defendant is wrestling the defendant to the ground. Mr. Dent was struck, kicked, and tased while on the ground by what appeared to be a group of angry, anxious police officers that celebrated after the defendant was beaten and cuffed. The video in the car shows the police officers fist bumping as a celebratory act of bravery by the defendant and his cohorts. But the one image that struck out to the court was looking at Mr. Dent in his cell, shaking his head.
You could already tell that the judge was infuriated by this devil cop's actions. What he did was so low that even the judge couldn't hide the disgust on her face.
If his conduct was indicative of what he was thinking, I would have thought this. What crime did I commit? Being a black man in a Cadillac, stopped for a minor traffic offense by a group of racist police officers looking to do it. As police officer John Zelenowski, auxiliary police officer, testified in court too, in his response to a text, was quoted as saying, at least give me the satisfaction of knowing that you're out there beating up niggas right now. LOL. How humiliating and degrading that must have been. He was left in a cell for a number of hours before getting medical treatment. On January 28, 2015, you did not fulfill your job. You performed Just Us, a game that began with a police stop. The purpose of it was to harass and degrade a motorist in Inkster. The man chosen for your game was Floyd Dent, a black man. The game went like this. Let's follow a car in a known area, and based on your years of training experience, you knew that the motorist would likely be a black person, no license, armed with a gun or drugs in a vehicle.
The judge was not taking this lightly, as she rubbed the officer's face in the mess that he had created for himself, and you could see the clear indications of shame on the officer's face.
And upon stopping Mr. Dent, who was dead wrong for driving with no license or license suspended, running stop signs, and weaving in and out of the back street, which the court saw in the video, you and your sidekick, auxiliary police officer Zelenowski, caught your prey. Upon being stopped, Mr. Dent put his hands out of the driver's window in plain view. Your partner and you pulled him out. When he didn't move fast enough for you, you refer to it as resisting. I call it bowing down to your command. You utilized your dirty, hairy tactics and used excessive force to arrest him. When your posse arrived, they joined you in the takedown, kicking and ultimately throwing Mr. Dent into a windshield of a police car with a dash cam, which I refer to as the eye of justice. You were so into your bravado that you forgot the eye of justice was watching you and recording this disgusting beating, seeing Mr. Dent slammed into the window shield with blood running down his face. The dash cam that was designed to protect you ended up being what convicted you. Fist busting after taking him down as a sign of bravery was just another cowardly act caught by the eye of justice.
This female judge is what we need more of in this country today. She had no problem at all in stating the obvious and addressing all the elephants in the room.
Took me several days to read the letters that people sent talking about your character, about the man that you are, about how you went in Westland and helped to save 3 senior citizens from a burning building. 3 of those letters, I believe, were from African Americans, and 1 even professed to be like a mother. 1 or 2 things, either they're all racist or there's something redeeming about you that somehow in some way you forgot that night. The way you denigrated that man was awful. Who would know and who would care about a lone black man being assaulted by upstanding police officers? At the station, the other eye of justice captured you and your posse making fun of Mr. Dent, mimicking him struggling while you all wiped the blood off your uniforms with disinfectant while he watched. Such an awesome, caring, properly trained police officer. You led your fellow officers down a path of cowardly behavior. But today you will pay for it. You will pay for 2 things. Not being an example of greatness, which I know that you are from all the letters of support, awards, and commendation that you have shared with this court, and resorting to cowardly acts of barbaric behavior that led you to be convicted of these crimes.
After a long verbal beating, the judge finally punished Melendez, and his reaction is worth watching.
You betrayed your city. You caused your lovely wife heartache. And you caused Mr. Dent severe anguish. And finally, in the words of Vicky Yost, your commander, accountability is required to ensure continued community trust and healing. Today, I can only punish your conduct, but only you and God can change your character. I've had an opportunity to listen to both sides, but it was my privilege to be able to oversee this trial because I had great lawyers, and great lawyers make jobs real easy. At this time, I am going to commit you to the Michigan Department of Corrections. However, after weighing the allegations in this particular matter and looking at all the circumstances, including what you've done and who the person I really believe that you are, I'm going to commit you to the Michigan Department of Corrections as to count 1 for no less than 13 months, no more than 10 years. As to count 2, I'm going to give you 90 days credit for time served and close it out. The court's going to give you 85 days for credit. You have 42 days to appeal my decision. That concludes this matter. Thank you.
That day, this judge set an example for how devils like Melendez should be treated nationwide, and I applaud her for that. Moving on to our final sentencing of the day, we have the case of Numan Raja, an evil cop who did one of the worst things a cop could do.
Discharging the firearm actually caused great bodily harm or death to Corey L. Jones.
On March 7th, 2019, Numan Raja, a former police officer from Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, was convicted following an 8-day jury trial for some heinous acts he had committed. On April 25th, 2019, Raja appeared in front of Circuit Judge Joseph Marks, and what the judge did next will leave you shocked.
We got 6 people that were plucked out of their normal lives, just sitting at home eating a sandwich one day, and they got a card in the mail that said, "You got to come to the courthouse." They're just regular folks, just like the rest of us. And they got thrust into this situation. I have no idea what's going to happen right now. I do know one thing. There's going to be one side who's going to be brokenhearted. One side's going to be brokenhearted. We know that for sure. What I ask everybody, and then I follow it up with I'm ordering, that I am respectful that this is the most pressure-packed moment for most people in their entire lives. I don't want to hear a peep. And to whatever side's brokenhearted, if you don't think you can take it, I need you to step out in the hallway, because nobody will run out of this courtroom while I'm taking this verdict. As soon as the 6 jurors are out of the courtroom, you're free to get up, walk out. Please, my job, and I think everybody's picked up on it, how respectful and polite I am to everybody. But when I'm forced to, I bite. I just want peace for these 6 people to get out of here, and then whatever the verdict is, we'll deal with it after they have been excused. Okay. So let's bring in the jury.
After an electric introduction, the judge orders the jury to be brought in.
Jurors, I'm gonna take things out of order here. I want you to listen, one last instruction I have to give to you. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank you for your time and consideration of this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. No juror can ever be required to talk about the discussions that occurred in the jury room except by court order. For many centuries, our society has relied upon juries for consideration of difficult cases. We have recognized for hundreds of years that a jury's deliberations, discussions, and votes should remain their private affair as long as they wish it. Therefore, the law gives you a unique privilege not to speak about your work. Although you are at liberty to speak with anyone about your deliberations, you are also at liberty to refuse to speak to anyone. When you're being escorted out today, If you want to say, listen, I want to break off and stand in front of the courthouse and talk about this case, you're free to do so. But you're also free to say, I've done my service and I'm leaving. If anybody harasses, I want to know. When you leave, I'm going to give you you're going to be handed a packet. In the packet is a certificate of appreciation. Inside the envelope is a letter evidencing your jury work that I mentioned a very long time ago. If anybody has a problem with an employer, let me know. Also, there's the anonymous questionnaire. It's a way for you to write back to me and tell me, Judge, this is what I liked, this is what I didn't like. Does all of you have your personal belongings? Everything you've gathered, everything up? They're in the jury room? Okay.
You can already tell that this judge is pretty strong on principles. Just think about what he'd do to an officer who has the crime of unaliving someone hanging on his head.
In the Circuit Court of the 15th Judicial Circuit, in and for Palm Beach County, Florida, Criminal Division, Division X, case number 2016 CF 005507 AMB, State of Florida, plaintiff versus Newman Khan Raja, defendant, verdict. We, the jury, find as follows. As to count one, we find a defendant guilty of murder while armed with as charged in the information. As to count two, we found a defendant guilty of attempted first-degree murder as charged in the information. If you find a defendant guilty of attempted first-degree murder, you must next answer the following questions. Did the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant actually possessed the firearm? Yes. Did the state prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant actually discharged the firearm? Yes. Discharging the firearm actually caused great bodily harm or death to Corey L. Jones? Yes. So say we all, the 7th day of March, 2019, in West Palm Beach County, Florida, signed, jury, 4-person.
Poll the jury.
Juror number 1, were the verdicts is read your verdict? Juror number 2, were the verdicts is read your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 3, were the verdicts is read your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 4, were the verdicts is read your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 5, were the verdicts is read your verdicts?
Yes.
Juror number 6, were the verdicts is read your verdicts?
Yes.
Thank you very much. You're excused. Follow the deputies. All right, everybody have a seat.
Even the jury seemed determined to put the devil cop behind bars, but now it was the judge's turn to speak.
All right. So, State, what are your feelings? 30 days to put it off?
At this time, obviously, we're going to request the defendant be remanded.
I am going to remand the defendant.
We will, we understand that there realistically is going to be some type of legal argument that needs to be made.
Sure.
Based on the verdict, we would expect there to be some type of motions filed by the defense. We'd ask the court, if you would, set a deadline on filing motions and then give us a certain deadline on responding to those motions and then setting a sentencing hearing either from that point, but I think 30 days might be a little too light, just in the fact of understandably there probably will be some litigation prior to the actual
I'm sure.
sentencing judge.
Definitely there will be, based on some previous discussions we had. Should I pass sentencing off then for about 45 days to get your post-trial motions in order? Okay. So, Ms. Driscoll, please give me a date in about approximately 45 days, and I'll set it at 1:30 in the afternoon and set aside the whole afternoon.
We also have a date, just a final date for any motions to be filed. That will give us an opportunity to file.
I'll put that at the 30-day mark.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So that gives you 15 days in between. 30 days to get your appropriate motions filed, 15 days early.
Judge, are you going to do the motions at the same time as the sentencing?
That would not be my intention. That would not be my intention. So I'll have time in between there. The lawyers have worked so well together. Just contact each other and I'll put aside special time for you. April 26th, that's the 45-day mark. Okay, that'll be sentencing, 1:30 in the afternoon. And in between, I'll leave it to the lawyers to contact my office to set up whatever hearings need to be conducted regarding post-trial motions. I hereby remand the defendant. And Mr. Lubin, do you want a PSI?
The Court was dismissed afterward, but on April 25, 2019, the same judge, Joseph Marks, sentenced Raja to an astounding prison sentence.
On count 1, I hereby sentence him to 25 years in the Department of Corrections. And on count 2, I hereby sentence Mr. Raja to 25 years in the Department of Corrections. That is as a minimum mandatory, which was required that he serve day for day. Those sentences will run concurrently.
Raja's scheduled release date is February 27, 2044, but under Florida parole and probation guidelines, his minimum release date is May 29, 2040. As of September 20th, 19, Raja was being held at the Wakulla Correctional Institution in Crawfordville, a minimum to medium security level prison southeast of Tallahassee. Do you think Raja got what he deserved? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like the video, subscribe so you don't miss out on the next one we have in store for you. Thanks for watching. This is Detective Mystery, signing off.